let's hop right into it.
Welcome, everybody, to VFX and Chill, and happy Pride Month to everybody. We are here, as you can see, with the lovely and talented Emonee LaRussa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
We're also over there is Seth Worley, and over in the box, our fountain of knowledge himself, Michael Zalapsky.
Oh, wait, I still have our sound effects from last week. Yay. All right,
for those who missed our show last week, we had a very fun 1900s themed show where we did some very cool old visual effects from like the 1940s.
And we can turn it on anytime we want, like this.
Oh, we still have that. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Hashi and Seth put together very fun old-timey visual effects. Do we have the final version of that trailer to show off?
Oh,
because I think it's very fun.
It is in the open directory for yesterday's last episode.
All right, I'll go grab it right now. I'll go grab it. But in the meantime,
the show is run like Severance, where right after the show we have no recollection of any time that passed in between the shows, and neither do we think about the show when we're not on the show.
Yeah, and then we wake up and so we've been on the show perpetually for the past 17 years. Where'd that math come from? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. But the good thing is Emonee. We are so thrilled to have you here. And I was mentioning on Twitter, like, I am intimidated whenever we have like a legit good designer on the show or a guest who has like inherent talent. It's frustrating because I like to play off like the hackery of like ripping off people or copying styles or visual effects. Like, that's my bag. But people who create from the ground up are super cool.
I don't know. I get very inspired by so many other artists too. I feel like my imposter syndrome won't allow me to say that I'm as creative as you were saying that I am. So,
well, I'm going to go ahead and prove you wrong right now by just going straight to your Instagram page, and show all these people that you don't know what you're talking about.
Sometimes I don't.
I'm not kidding. First off, let's talk about this. You've started a nonprofit. And it is very cool. Okay, everybody just go to Emonee's Instagram, watch through this video first, and then watch literally everything else she's made.
Yes.
God. I love it so much. But hey, you know what? Actually, before we talk about this, I do want to talk about this. But let's look at some of I'm going to go to your 2022 reel just to show a bunch of the art that you had in 2022. This you're not allowed to have imposter syndrome, Emonee. This is like such cool stuff.
Look at this.
I love when I look at something and I literally don't know how you did it, and that's everything that's right here in front of me.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like an open book. So if you have any questions on anything, I will tell you all of my secrets.
All right, my first question is how? How did you do any of it?
How?
With tools.
With just a little bit of anxiety, you could do anything.
Amen.
Oh my gosh. So Emonee has an awesome YouTube channel as well, where you have some cooler, like longer, like breakdowns and tutorials about working with all the kinds of tools that you do to make this stuff. And you've done something that is baffling to me, which is adapt to things like Instagram Reels and TikTok for both amazing art content and educational like breakdowns of things. That's something that does not come naturally to this old man, and I just it's so inspirational when.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's honestly something that I never really like had this like, oh, like I want to make content for like online or like be like quote unquote like influencer. I always feel so cringe when I say influencer, but it's like, that's what I am. Like I can't, like, that's basically what I do. But I feel like I started studying kind of how the algorithm was working and like trying to figure out how I could kind of put my foot in so many different opportunities. Like the majority of the projects that I've got to do that I'm like super proud of are because like I have basically like this online portfolio. And I feel like once we kind of start changing the narrative to like just building a demo reel, but like on an Instagram format, then it's like, that's how I start getting other jobs and stuff. So that's kind of like how I framed it.
That's really cool.
I mean, speaking of your jobs, you've worked for some big name artists and you've been on so many red carpets at this point. Like, like your slow-mo cam stuff is just amazing.
I mean, that was insane. I saw videos, like I have always watched slow-mo cams of people like celebrities doing that. And then like the opportunity to be able to go to the Grammys and then walk the red carpet was just insane. I saw like Cole, who's like the director of photography, and I was like, oh my God, is this gonna be my moment? And I don't know. I feel like I peaked at that. I don't know if I could get any higher than that.
It's amazing.
I mean, you've done work for some of the biggest names in music these days, and for you to say you have imposter syndrome is just makes all of us, I think, feel a little bit better because your work is stunning.
Thank you. I mean, it doesn't go away. Like the idea of like wanting to be an artist and feeling like I'm not fulfilling that role. It's just, I don't know, maybe that's my sparkle. But it's sometimes it could be very exhausting because it's like, oh, I just made a piece and then I'll put it out there and then I'll be like, this isn't good. I don't know why I did that. And then it'll get love and I'm like, I feel like this is a big like episode of like Punk'd, but it's just like my life. And people are going to come out later and be like, just kidding. We actually didn't think you were that good of an artist. So,
wow. See, that specific memory I can relate to. No, we don't need to get sad today. Let's go. Let's keep going.
But no, like but the really cool thing is like you've done all this big name stuff, but the first time I saw your work was when you were just posting like you're a normal person on Reddit in the After Effects subreddit. You're just like la la la. Here's some stuff. I'm like, holy crap! And you talked about the timeline you had to work on this amazing project. I'm like, this person to be able to pull off this level of work in this tiny timeline, this has got to be one of the coolest artists ever. And it turns out I was right. You are. But you also like you give back so much. Like you're so like on the After Effects subreddit, you like share everything. Like you just said, you're an open book. You don't care. You're like, here's how I did it.
Yeah, no, I love my After Effects subreddit. They did roast me the last video that I posted because it was about like the runway AI, but like I forgive them. But
they roasted you about the AI stuff?
I've always had a deep love for Reddit.
They roasted you about the AI specifically?
Yeah, because I was like, hey guys, you should check out this crazy tool. And they're like, man, she's selling out. And I'm like, they didn't even pay me. Like,
you know what? Was it the Roto one, right? You were doing the comparison?
Yeah.
So what I loved about that, by the way, was the detail you included in terms of the amount of edits you had to make to each roto, like insanely valuable. Like the way that comparison that you did there. And what I love that is because you didn't highlight. There's so much about, especially Runway, because they keep putting out like a new tool every week. Like, what I love is that you showed off, like, you're approaching it the way that I know Hashi and I try to approach it, which is like, here's a new tool for the toolbox, and here's some of the weird ways we can use it, and here's how it compares to the tools we currently have. Not here's what it's going to do instead of everything I've been doing.
I don't think Emonee has ever said designers are dead, whatever. Like, what is the motion graphics designers are done?
Yeah. No, I have, it's interesting because I understand that there are going to be jobs that are we getting into an AI conversation?
Whoops. How do we not have a drop for that?
Not on purpose.
Let's see.
I feel as though like there are going to be jobs that kind of shift, but that kind of what we should expect as like digital artists. Like we've put ourselves in a field that is constantly changing because of the advancements. Like we didn't get into traditional painting where it's like, okay, you use a paintbrush and a canvas. Like relatively the tools have kind of stayed the same, but with like digital art, it's like there's so many different tools that are coming out. Like when you look at old Photoshop and like today Photoshop, like outside of AI, there's like insane amount of tools that are constantly changing. I feel like if we kind of scope it to where we're using these like rather tools than like just straight up they're gonna take our jobs. Like I think it just kind of it's just the field that we decided to be in.
And it honestly opens us up to so much more. I mean, for someone like you who is clearly just like a firecracker of creativity, like there's that even implies smallness. I'm trying to think of just like whatever the largest nuclear bomb of creativity you can think of. Like that's what I'm trying to say. For someone like you who is that way, like AI and all of the little things that it's suddenly allowing us to be able to do. It just kind of like I am literally forgot every word. The point is, what I'm looking for, I'm going to throw the word cloud. Potential, like it's just like creates, there's so much more potential for even more imagery and cool stuff that we're able to create. It's exciting. So, yeah. So don't listen to the dummies who don't really like it.
You know, you've talked about not liking your work. What's one of your favorite pieces that you worked on recently? Or it doesn't have to be recently. Just all time. It can be of all time.
Okay, let me think. Hold on. So there's like a few pieces that I feel super proud of. The piece that I made for the Grammys, I really loved.
I have that.
I just was able to get
to pull that up.
Full range on that project. I also,
this piece right here?
Yeah, okay. I used Cinema 4D and After Effects for this. But it was like my first time kind of like integrating both like the 2D style with like this 3D look. And so, I mean, obviously I could look back at it and be like, oh God, why did I do that? There's so many different things that I could do it now differently. But I mean, that's the part of just like making art, I guess, is like constantly wanting to improve and get better. But I really love this piece. I got like, there wasn't a super crazy deadline on it, so I got a little bit of time to work on it.
I just love the look of it so much.
Yeah, it's got this like HBO 1980, like it's got this really wonderful like interstitial like you'd see at the top of I don't know why the HBO intro is coming to mind because that was all models and stuff, but it looks like the kind of like bumper you'd see on TV in like 1987. Yes. I love it so much.
They should use this to promote like the Grammys or, you know, something like one of those like...
It was an NFT. So like with the Grammys, this platform they had brought on like two different artists, me, Thank You X, and Andre O'Shea, and we all were able to make like an art piece. And so yeah, this piece was pretty cool. I liked it.
What I love about your motion graphics is the additional layer of texturing, dithering, depth, and softness. That I mean, there's sort of like there's like an Adobe Illustrator aesthetic. I don't mean to be reductive to like a whole.
But
there is like, but there's a way that, like there's intro, to Adobe Illustrator style stuff, and then there's this additional level where like there's such an artistic interpretation beyond what you standard get out of the box.
I'm like restraining myself from asking you all the specifics of like this dither look that you have in this. Like
Seth will talk about the dithering for the next hour.
I will, because I've been trying to do it in stuff for so long, and I'm less skilled on the designer side, on the illustrator side, and much more know what I'm doing on the motion side. So I don't know how to achieve this kind of stuff in motion the way that you've done it. So I'm wildly impressed, and also wanting to steal from you however way I can.
I will explain it. So basically what I do is I have all of these models and I render it out with like an object buffer. So all of them have their own like Luma mat. And then I bring it into After Effects and I basically take that Luma mat and I'll throw in like all the blending layer styles. So like inner glow, like bevel, all these different ones, and it kind of gives that like color. So I also use grayscale. So I'll render these out in gray, and then I will add like a tritone later. Oh yeah, this was another piece I super loved making. But that was the same process for this as well, where I rendered all these out in grayscale, and then there it is right there. And then I bring it into After Effects and I add kind of like a tritone to it. That was how I kind of came up with the idea, like on the perspective, on how the perspective should be. Because I am terrible with perspective, so I need to see it like from my own camera in order to understand how it works.
Well, you have a video on your YouTube channel. What is it called? How to Start Creative Thinking.
Yes.
Which is like way to tackle something like that, which is phenomenal. But it is a very deep dive into your process as an artist creating something like this.
Yeah.
And I love that they are peppered with like building a foam model or building it in 3D. Or the word cloud, I can't remember what you call it, but like this, like the word cloud association to make sure like you're exploring it. It's absurd. Yeah. And it's like you use all the techniques that I feel like I have like collectively heard of and know are out there. But the fact that you funnel them all into the artistic creation of one singular thing is I think why I'm scared of real artists who can like focus on.
Is this what you're talking about, Hash?
Yes.
The word tree.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I do all of this so that I don't have to do a whole bunch of work in post. So like my whole thing is like trying to troubleshoot every possible thing in pre-production so that when I'm like actually creating it, I can spend more time on like making it technically sound rather than being like, oh man, I messed up the perspective and now I have to redo this whole thing. So like, I think it's for me to kind of get a better understanding and for me to spend less time, even though I'm spending time in the pre-production. I just think when I'm running into so many issues in post, I can feel a little like, oh, like, is this really going to work? Like, I don't know, maybe I should just trash it. And so I try to avoid that feeling as much as possible. And so being able to do it all in pre is kind of how I do that.
This is phenomenal. And a good example of why Emonee will not be replaced by AI. Like this is not like this isn't like prompt refining going on here. This is thought, design, and it like, especially when it comes to these animations, there's the spatial and graphic component to them. I love that they could be tied together in whatever way as possible. Like the looping ones are phenomenal. Look at this.
Yeah.
I love this so much.
I'm very though, like, I also want to emphasize like how much I just get inspired by so many different forms of like art that I basically almost feel like a collage artist where I'm taking in all, like, I'll see like a sculpture or like I'll see like street art or I'll see like so many different art mediums. And I'm trying to incorporate that and like adding different pieces to the overall puzzle. And so like, yeah, it's very much like, I'm not like thinking of these like, oh yeah, immediately like I'm going to come up with like all these different things. It's usually because like I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, you know what would be dope if like adding this and this and this, and yeah. So that's kind of like how my ideas run.
How do you go about bringing it all together into such cohesion? Is that how much of that is conscious and how much of that just happens in the process? Because I'm impressed by how many, like, just this piece alone has like so many key like pieces of iconography that can, like, it's all so cohesive in this one singular style. And I know you just showed, we just saw that thing with the word cloud and all these different references like the Big Lebowski and all these different things that were all these different styles, and you bring them all together into this one cohesive look.
Yeah.
Is that obviously you're making it cohesive on purpose, and I'm curious how much work it takes to do that, or if it all just kind of comes easily.
So a lot of it is like the front end work, but sometimes like how I did this in grayscale, I didn't figure out my color. Like I did probably 4 or 5 different like color palettes before landing on the one that I landed on. And it was just like, how do I think that's kind of like the hardest part for me is like the design element of it is like, how do I make this consistent throughout? Because that's one thing that I've kind of noticed, like something with like my old work where like it looks so amateur because I have all these different like styles and like colors going on that it, like I feel like you could just grab a piece from like the beginning and grab a piece from the end and you wouldn't be able to tell that they're together. And so I started trying to focus more on just like using a color palette. So what I'll do is I'll use Adobe Cooler. I think they've changed their name.
They've changed it like 50 times, but that's still the best resource for storing color palettes and creating color palettes.
Yes. So I'll use Adobe Cooler, add it to my library and just use the colors from that. But yeah, this was like insane. I basically keyed out that orange to try to get another matte in it. So a lot of it is just keying out and adding color onto it later.
I think that like the way that you use post-processing on like grayscale or CG elements, I love, because it feels like such a throwback to like photochemical or like, like to like the very visceral processes that you used to use to make artwork like this. Like if I like all of this gives me the vibe of like the Who's Tommy jacket art kind of like realm where there's like this like slight bit of like cutout going on. Like you're using the actual like colors and tones to create the shapes, and with the keying it gives it a slightly more organic edge to everything, and that's so cool.
I also love the iconography that keeps showing up of eyeballs and all of this stuff. Like
I'm obsessed with eyeballs.
Me
I didn't
too.
realize it until I was doing like I was on a Twitter space and someone was like, what is like your attachment with eyeballs? And I'm like, I've never realized that. Like
my first movie I ever made as a kid was called Eyes: The Invasion, and it was I don't know if like this might date me a lot, but like Taco Bell in the 90s would do these, like they did this like 2 or 3 years in a row where every Halloween they'd have these crazy eye straws that had these eyeballs that were in them.
Yes.
And those were my favorite thing ever, and collected all of them and made my very first movie was about a fleet of aliens that come to Earth and pose as fast food straws to like suck people's brains out. I play like all the characters.
Oh my God, I remember those. And then you move it around and the eyeball would move.
Yeah. So like, and so since then that's been like, I also have a thing for like, for this, maybe that's why I'm like so obsessed with your work, is because it also has just piles,
a whole bunch
of
eyeballs in it.
I have them on screen right now, Seth, if you need to, if just so the viewers at home can understand the
those
monster eye straws.
Yes, those are amazing.
You had to be there, when a taco restaurant was selling you these.
Yeah, I just had this obsession with just like Spectator, like what that seems like. I think because Black Mirror traumatized me with that what was that episode where they were chasing that woman around and they were like filming her, and the whole time you're like, oh my God, these people are so evil. But then I won't spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
But then something happens at the end and it's like, oh. But yeah.
That's the best description. Something happens at the end and oh.
Oh, this piece that I did with Matt Voice. Matt Voice is like a phenomenal illustrator. Like, I honestly think like one of the best like illustrators. He focuses like on typography and just like really cool, fun animation. And so I collabed with him, and he's by far the best illustrator to work with. So I basically came up with all of these like scenes, like what I kind of thought would be cool for this. And he made each of these scenes, but like additional assets. Like he had so many other like objects like on the side that weren't even in the scene that he was just like, yeah, if you want to use them, you can use them too. And I'm like, you're giving me so much to work with. I love you. Like he's
that is an artist. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's just like a super nice dude. Like I would never see him doing anything mean or raising his voice at anyone.
Is this whole piece all After Effects, or is this some Cinema 4D as well?
So the alien spaceship, that's Cinema 4D, but everything else is After Effects and Illustrator.
How many colors in this palette?
Oh man, I think like 5.
Wow.
It feels like there's so much more. I would say I don't want to skip out. The chat is commenting on things. Kevin Rupp says Moni's an absolute legend, and she's worked with John Legend, so double legend. On the show today, folks are talking about how they love your work, love the Grammy NFTs, all eyes on you. And then Oyston Rambler Holton's Ramseur, I keep mispronouncing your name, I'm so sorry, but says that you brought all of the colors today. And it's like your work is so colorful, and yet it all feels so cohesive. Like it feels like you've thrown all the colors in there, and yet it doesn't feel overwhelmed. Like that's my problem. Like if I try to make something colorful, it always ends up so messy. But you're saying there's only like a few colors in this piece, but it feels like it's just bursting with it.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important, because I will get the same way. But like once I have that like Adobe Cooler color palette, it makes it to where I'm not like overthinking and adding too many colors. Because once I start thinking about adding another color, I'll stop and I'm like, it's not in the color palette, and I'll scrap it. But it is hard to have that restraint, because more color is like more better, but like not really.
No, it's a really good point, and it's a difficult thing. That's why like where I get I do not like doing any kind of title design or motion graphics work. Seth knows this about me, because I hate it, because I am not willing to focus enough to make any of those discerning choices about color or fonts or composition. I am more in the impression, I deal exclusively in vibes is what I'm saying, like VFX vibes. But when it comes to design or intentionality, some of those those artist things.
It's funny because as you're saying that, I feel like I wish that I was like that, where I can just like hop in and like all these different things where I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this out, do this. But like, I feel like that is more creative than like having the structure. I feel like it sometimes feels mechanic almost.
Well, I mean, this is a collaboration here. And like, that's one of the coolest things about being, willing, like as an artist, like reaching out and building a community around what you do and reaching out to others and teaching. And I mean, this is a fantastic month to talk about how, like embracing your community is a really good thing to do. And like nothing bad ever comes from that. So I am like, I love collaborating with artists, because I am like, I like you. I like your work. You're so talented. I want you to do your work and what you're amazing at, and like allow me to like just be a part of that. Like whenever I ask someone to collab, it is like no micromanaging.
Like, I want this to feel like this is just as much as their piece. And most of the time I am directing the pieces that like I collab on. But I mean, on the side of me just being obsessed with the artist and being able to like say that I worked with them, like, is already like fulfilling. But on the side of like being able to expand my audience, now I get to be in front of this amazing creator's audience as well. And so I think that portion of collaborating is like even more better. Like, it's like I want to show up because like I'm in front of a new audience that never knew me before. And yeah, but I mean, overall, every time I've collaborated with an artist, it's been like, I've been obsessed with your work, so please work with me.
Oh yeah, take that to heart. Anybody watching that, honestly, being able to reach out to other artists and not getting too stuck in your own lane is such a really, such a great way to grow.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I want you to do what you're great at, and I'll just help over here.
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal.
That sounds like a dream collab partner. The chat is saying they feel their neural pathways in their brain changing from all the advice that you're bringing, which is lovely. Exoskeleton in the chat says the struggle they find is they have grudges against certain colors. For example, their favorite color is blue, so they tend to avoid red a lot. I would suggest to you, Exoskeleton, make yourself do a project where you just use red as your main color and try to fight it your own self and see what sort of creativity emerges from that struggle.
Not even black or white, no other colors, just red.
Just red. Well, I was thinking some other colors, but mainly red. But no, that's also fun. Yeah, Exoskeleton, tag us when you finish it so we can see your red masterpiece. Now, Hashi was talking about doing visual effects, and I was about to say, you don't just do motion design, you also do visual effects, like this piece here, which is a very cool mix of motion design and VFX. You want to talk about this piece for us?
Oh, it's so great. It's like Syriac meets Terry Gilliam.
It reminds me of the With Bob and David intro that I use as a reference constantly for what our VFX and chill stuff should look like. I love this so much.
I keep on talking over it.
So I started like working in After Effects by doing like visual effects stuff. And so I started really focusing in the past like few years doing like motion graphics like strictly. And I was having so many different ideas that had characters, and I absolutely did not like creating characters in like motion graphics. Like, I felt like there wasn't a way that, I mean, the people who make characters are amazing at it, but I'm not a character designer. And so every time I made a character, it looked terrible. Like, I hated it. And so I had all these ideas on like things I wanted to create, and I was limited by what I could create. And so I was like, what if I tried to include my visual effects knowledge into like my motion graphics? And so this idea that I had with just like all these different like sunglasses and stuff, it was just like an idea that I've had for a very long time. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'm just gonna like try to figure this out. And I shot it in my office. And I think the hardest thing is these freaking loops. Looping the visual effects is, oh man, that is a whole other beast. Like, it's like you're making the piece, awesome, but the other half of it is like, okay, now loop it back to the beginning. Good luck.
It's a great limitation. I find I have not done very many looping videos, and most of the time I have a very big cheat involved with whatever the loop is, like a classic like crap hits the camera, honestly. Kind of like level of stitching. But no, your breakdown of this is really good. Seth, I've put that in the folder as well. I think it's called. I'm looking for it
right now. What's it called?
Quick animation breakdown, I think.
Yeah.
If that's it.
Jeff in the chat says, "Girl, you're in your head way too much," which is a very good pun for this piece. The chat has called this both the head. The chat has called this both the head stack and the head tower.
Yes. It is both.
It's a stack, a tower.
It's heads all the way down.
Yeah. This was a fun piece, but honestly, what was so crazy about it was I started kind of shifting how I was creating content with this, because I, for so long, was like, I don't want to put my face in my art. Like, I always thought it was like super weird. Like, I didn't want people to think that I was just like obsessive over myself. But really, it's just like a big part of it for me has been like, when I put this piece out, I had so many like women reach out and be like, oh my God, it was so amazing to see like your face, like being in visual effects, like women of color who were like, to see like someone look like me, like in these videos, it makes me so happy, makes me feel like I could do this. So I was like, nah, I got to do it forever. And like, it's just something that I am like, okay, I want to be that like representation, but it's also like this other thing too, of I have myself at disposal at all times. So like having like a model or like someone who can act in these, a lot of times I'm creating for like multiple days and I'll have to do like reshoots and stuff. And like me just having myself, I could reshoot these things and do test shots and be annoying and over direct myself because I'm not doing it to anybody else. So yeah, that's why I use myself so much.
I think that it's a phenomenal.
I mean, it's handy to have yourself right there.
Yeah.
It is really nice to have a performer that you can, just, abuse to do multiple takes of.
Yeah. Because I don't have to pay
Chris
me,
Ranos.
like I don't have to like be super nice to myself. I'm like, do it. And
that's not sustainable at all. Just for the record. That's how I treated my brother for the longest time.
Like you have to. We're family.
Chris Ranos, and family is important, as we learned in last week's episode. Chris Ranos said, what's crazy is that the pivot point for rotation of this piece is constantly changing, but the balance always feels right, like it's planted at the bottom of the frame. Like it really, like everything feels like weighted correctly, but he's right. It's changing the whole time. Like how did you manage to stack these heads in such a cool way?
Oh man, so I just use kind of like this balancing like technique where you parent the thing that's on top to the bottom one, and then you parent that one to the one below that, and you parent that one to the one below that. And it has like this weird, like you get like the awesomeness of like everything being attached to one rotation, but you also have the ability to add additional rotation to like the individual pieces. And so since they're all kind of attached to each other, they're all going to, like, you don't have to worry about changing the position of them as the previous one rotates. And so figuring that out was like pretty tricky when it came back to the loop, because I needed to so a big part of that was not only did I have to have my face in front of me, but I had to have the inside of my head behind my head, which meant that I needed to put, oh my God, this is going to get so confusing. Okay. So I had
Seth, I do have a visual that could accompany Emonee talking about this.
Yeah.
Try to make this.
So my face is in front of me. The inside of my head is behind that layer, and in between both of those layers, I have the head on top. And so I basically would need to parent each individual layer, like the heads together, and attach the one above that. And so it was just so much, because I couldn't pre-comp anything, because they all needed to be like the head in front also needed to exist in the same composition as the inside of the head. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was
any nesting dolly situation is so ridiculous. Our very immature version of that is we often don't know if you're familiar with it. We like to replace people's faces with velociraptors, just because, what else are you going to do? But they present an interesting VFX challenge where you're replacing a neck and a head. But if the head ever gets in front of the shirt and neck, it's now in front of two things that it traditionally would be behind. And so you're dealing with, you need to remember what is in front of, what is behind, and what is inside of. Yeah. And the depth that you have in those open tops of your skull there. But
also with this stack of teacups you've got going, it's got to like you said, they've all got to be parented to the bottom one so that they're and then they're adding additional animation that then adjusts. Did you have, you may have said this already, I'm sorry, I was hunting down a clip earlier. Were there expressions linked through that chain in order to make, like, to allow for, or were you manually going in and animating these like rotations and tipping and back and forth?
So I didn't have any expressions on it because the rotation on each individual head was so slight, because if I had like the head at the bottom and I had 5 heads on top of that, and then so in the first head I'm going to rotate over like 2 pixels, and then the one above that I'm also going to rotate over 2 pixels. Now the one on top is rotating 4 pixels. So like it just increases over time. So like it wasn't that I needed to have like this insane like process of like rotating everything, because they all like worked with each other. But also, to be honest, I suck at expressions. I'm not good at it at all. I get so confused. The whole coding aspect of it's like, if this is true, then therefore blah blah blah. Like, no, too much. Like, words are not my friend, so don't like it.
Well, that's even more impressive then. But
well, I mean, like again, like speaks to your amazing like pre-pro process.
Pre-pro.
And like the whole idea that like there's a lot of planning and like that goes into everything, and also leads to the, I mean, I'll just call it an analog quality. Like I feel like, you know, whether you are like literally hand animating something to work or you are approaching it from it's like there are very few cheats in the like cheats that let you escape the hard work of any of this.
Yeah.
And that's a real important thing about any of these like people hawking that like motion design is dead because of a chintzy explosion that you animated on runway.
No, I mean, sometimes I do feel like I could be more efficient. Like, I think that there's things that I don't know that would probably better my workflow, and I will
just come on the show and you'll learn them while we're doing the show and while you're doing the work in the public eye and be humiliated. That's the VFX and chill way. Happens to us every week.
It just took like 2 or 3 years of trying to teach a software we didn't know how to use until we decided to learn how to use it.
Yeah, it happens to us literally every day on the show. We're like, I'll be doing something, and then Michael will say, you know, you can just click the do all of that button that's over in the corner that everyone else knows about. And then I'll just hit this little button that makes Michael go away, and we'll continue the show.
No, I need, that's what I kind of miss about working with like other people, is that you get that feedback. Like when you're a freelance artist, like you just have yourself and you don't want to like burden other people by being like, hey, can you check out my project and see why this isn't working? So I'm honestly jealous that you guys have that.
Well, what would you say, like, go for it, Michael.
Oh, I was just going to, speaking of projects working, someone in the chat was asking, what sort of render time do you get from a comp like this with so many layers stacked on each other?
Oh, great question.
Okay, so towards the end, my computer is kicking. Like it, like seriously will have like 12 to 18 seconds on the render time. Like, you know how it has it at the bottom where it lets you know how long it's going to take. I don't know if that's per frame or just like the overall, but it gets pretty bad at the end, adding all these different like adjustment layers on everything. But for them, I honestly need to get a new computer, but it's still vibing. It's still with me. But yeah, it can get a little dicey sometimes.
Well, how do you split up your time between like when, or like rather, do you learn like if you wanted to explore new tools or better ways to do something, does that discovery always happen on a project, or do you have in between? Like, do you have any kind of in between, like just mess around time that you're doing this kind of stuff?
I do have mess around time because it's crucial to my well-being. I think just
as that, folks.
Yeah. As being an artist, like me getting paid to make art, I think there's this constant pressure of like, well, I have to jump on the next project and I have to do this and I have to do that. And like, I'm not becoming a better artist. I'm just using what I already know. And I am constantly looking at new art and I'm like, man, like I wish I knew how to do that. I wish I knew how to do that. And so if I'm like, okay, if I feel like I want to get better, but I'm not setting a time for me to actually get better, then I'm just all talk. Like I should actually just put a day in every week where I just come up with concepts. And so like I'll sit down and I'll spend the entire day just like thinking about how to do something, and then I'll watch a tutorial on it and I'll save it and I'll be like, okay, so for the next project, I think it would be cool to do this. And so I think it's pretty crucial to have those days where you are learning, because I've spent years, just doing the same stuff and expecting a different outcome. So yes, I very much do that.
Hey, it'll work one of these times.
It could work for us.
It'll work eventually.
My good. I love
Ryan
that.
Cardy in the chat. Ryan Cardy in the chat is asking, they say, hey, so I'm a college student that wants to get into MoGraph and visual effects. What should I do to make my work pop? And how do I retain the work that I learn?
Okay. So I have a handy dandy journal that I just like write everything in. I don't know where it is. It might be in my living room.
And but you're going to read it to us now.
What?
I'm kidding. I said, and you're going to read it to us now.
Yeah, and I'll read you the journal now. No. But I keep kind of like basic notes on like what really like stuck out to me, or like I'll even have like post-it notes of like, oh, I'll do this effect, or like I'll watch a tutorial and I'll kind of remember or I'll just write down like the key points of it. And so I don't feel like you should ever feel bad for not remembering and continuing to watch like the tutorial even after. It's kind of like, you ever like cook and then you throw the box away and then you're like, oh, what was the thing that I needed to add? And then you go back and you're like, oh, why I should just keep the box out. I shouldn't just throw it away. That's kind of what it's like to have everything written down. But if you're getting into like visual effects and motion graphics, I would just say study the people who are successfully doing it and like how like they're like what type of stuff that they're putting out, what kind of jobs they're getting. Like if that's something that you want to do, like if you're like, oh, I want to work for a studio one day, then like finding motion graphics artists that work at studios, what kind of trends are they like into? That's kind of like, I study from other people. And it kind of gives me like motivation to like want to keep going because I know the potential's out there. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
I would say to find something that makes your work pop is you have to find your voice and how you work, because your work is not going to look like her work or my work or Seth's or Hashi's. It's going to look like yours once you find your voice. And finding your voice isn't something that you do on purpose necessarily. You just start making stuff and and get feedback from people you trust, like on the After Effects subreddit. And eventually you'll start making stuff in a certain way. And then people will be like, hey, you use eyeballs a lot. You're like, I didn't even notice. But like it becomes like a little thing that people recognize in your work.
Yeah. No. And
I think like Blake Catherine didn't start out doing that kind of work that she does. But like if I see a piece of art, I know immediately that it's hers now because like she's found her style and the way that works for her.
Yeah. I would say don't get so honed in on what your style should be, or like you needing to have a style now. Like, I think, yeah, like exactly what they're saying, where it's like, that will come over time. Like that will come so naturally. You don't have to force it. Your work will pop. Like it is an absolute guarantee that if you spend the time just like creating new things and learning, like your work is going to get there wherever you want it to be, you know?
Unless you're just terrible at it. I'm just kidding.
Unless you suck.
I'm sure
you might just be bad.
I'm sure you're going to be great, Ryan.
Someone could be absolutely terrible if every day they're spending like time either researching in the program, just like doing new things. Like and it's not just like After Effects, it's like everything. Like if you spend every day trying to learn how to sew and like learning from the best like seamstress and like learning new techniques, and you're practicing, like there's literally no reason why you wouldn't be great in the future.
It's true. I think the only way you're ever going to be terrible is if you are immediately satisfied.
Exactly.
And that's not saying ultimately satisfied. That's saying immediately satisfied. That's
yeah.
I just want to go on
like
record.
people who just copy a tutorial and are so excited that they made something, they put it out there without like actually taking the technique in a tutorial and going a step further.
I can never finish a tutorial. Techniques. My brain starts moving so like in all these directions. The second that I'm watching it happens. I've almost never finished a tutorial of Hashi's because he'll introduce some simple thing so casually, that some technique or tool that I've never thought of or done, and I'll immediately think of a million things I could do with it, and I'll just open up After Effects, and then Hashi's just background music at that point, or Andrew Kramer's like background music at that point while I go mess around with stuff.
That's why I always say you have to watch it first before hopping into like the program. Because I did the same. When I was watching the Red Giant tutorial on the Super Comp, I think it was like an hour long, and I was just watching it like, oh my god, this is good. Like that's good. And then when I was ready to actually work in it, I had the tutorial open like on the side.
Nice. That's probably Stu's if it's an hour long.
I'm not sure.
Michael knows what.
But it was good.
Are.
There was like some good funny jokes in there that made me laugh at times.
Oh yeah, that's the Stu tutorial. The link for the tutorial for those of you who want the funny jokes and some really good insight into really quality visual effects compositing. Even if you don't have Super Comp, it's a good tutorial. You should watch it. It'll give you ideas.
But if you want a short and boring one, there's always getting started one that I did last year.
Once anniversary.
Ooh, and and I even I've made a medium tier. So if you're somewhere on the dial between Seth and Stu, level of concentration, I just need to. Though my problem is I need to record like a 30-second intro to it, and I have not done that for a month. So that's where I'm at, everyone.
Yeah,
Ryan Carty says, I love Super Comp. Yeah, me too. It is one of my most favorite tools. I use it all the time. But,
that's great, Ryan. But Super Comp is not our guest on the show today, okay? We're talking about Emonee today.
Or are they?
But speaking of Red Giant tools, you posted a video on your Instagram the other day about Primat Keyer.
I did.
It has pulled some amazing keys, like ridiculously for me. Like stuff that I thought, that's not going to key well. I'll have to use like a bunch of different instances of a keyer. Then a Primat's just like, here you go, here's a perfect key. I'm like, you sneaky bugger. Like you must really like it to make a whole video about it.
So I have I've been blessed with these curls, but it's also a curse because I do visual effects and green screen doesn't like curls. So like I've always run into the issue of like keying my hair out. And so I've been able to retain a lot more detail with Primat Keyer, and it was just like, oh my God, people need to know about this. Although I'm going to be completely honest, I do think that it is a larger learning curve for Primat than it is for Keylight, and maybe I'm just a noob to it, but like I feel like when I first hopped into it, I was a little intimidated by it, but then once I started understanding it, I was like, oh, that's why there's so many buttons, is because it does so many different things.
It's a very different way of working.
Yeah. No, it is. I have made the mistake of trying to show somebody. I was like, oh, I'm going to show you Primat Keyer. I think it was actually for Skillshare that I recently did. And I was like, I can't wait to show you guys Primat Keyer. And I start working and it's not working. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And it was because I didn't have it on full resolution. I just had it on quarter and it wasn't keying out. And I was like, guys, this has never happened to me. I don't know what's going on. I'm supposed to be teaching you guys how this works and it's not working. But then I put it on full and it worked. So I was happy.
That's my favorite thing is, whenever I need to demo something that just completely doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it.
Oh, but this is a great, I love, like your comparison breakdown of this and like why it's easy, and also just being very transparent about like, this wasn't as easy to get into because I didn't know this, but it also like since you teach so much as well, I feel like you roll that right into the way that you demo stuff, where you're saying like, this was difficult until I realized this, or I don't like doing this, and so I do this instead. And that's a great, being transparent and honest about what is difficult and what sucks to do is a great thing to know. I feel like there's an overlap of people who are good at teaching and people who are comfortable expressing their mistakes and failures along the way. And the inverse correlation with people who will be like, this AI tool will blow you out of the water because all I had to do was this. And, information sharing is important.
Yeah, no, so the other day I did this video where I had filmed myself and I was filming and shooting. I wanted it to be a 1 day, like film and shoot day. So I was trying to get everything done within that 1 day. And towards the end of the day, I think I was just like trying to throw everything in to like get off. And I had made some like very crucial mistakes that like if I had just taken the time to not like look at the program but like step away and like do something else, I would have noticed this, because I did. Like I noticed all these different issues like literally that night, and I was like, man, I was so like, I just wanted to get something out there to try to meet this like content quota, and it like I ruined the quality of this piece. And so I had realized that on my own, and I was like, I'm gonna let everybody else know this, because I feel like if I needed to be reminded of this, I feel like other people need to be reminded of this too. So I was like, here are the mistakes that I made, what I should have done, and I fell victim to this issue as well. So like, don't feel bad if you also feel the same. So yeah.
Oh my God, the amount of scene you will feel if you go watch through Emonee's reels on Instagram as any kind of artist. Like you could be motion graphics or anyone who needs to work hard for their work. So I love that. And that's one of the reasons I'm really happy that you're literally like performing and putting yourself into the pieces too, just because like you, as you know, the number one Emonee internet personality out there.
Google did we say that on air?
There's
your recent discovery and celebration.
Yeah. So I was not just looking myself up just to look myself up. It was in a conversation, and I typed in my name, and because we were trying to see if like who has Emonee has like a baby name, and who has, I was talking to my partner and who has their name. And so if you type in Imani, hopefully, yes, I'm
look at that.
You are the one and only.
Yes, we did it.
And there's Emonee's handle, by the way. In case
is born at this point, I need to take him out. Like we can't have another Emonee LaRussa here. I can't compete. So, but yeah.
Message received.
Saying you can't compete when you've won 2 Emmys is a little bit funny.
But I know that I could safely not compete if they're not existing. So
that's a good point. Plus, Emonee is only focusing on the additional 2 that she was nominated for. Probably, right?
Dude, yeah, they're I got my little nominations right above me. Yeah.
Incredible.
Jeez.
God, aren't awards the best?
She doesn't mount the actual Emmy. She mounts the nominations she lost.
So it's funny because I had my Emmys on my desk at one point, and then my dog, I heard him in the kitchen. I was like, you. And so I got up super fast, and my pants got hooked on the little wing, and it broke it. And so I have a broken Emmy, but you can't tell because I super glued it back together.
Well, those are some like really well crafted pants in that case. If they've won the fight with the Emmy. Yeah,
no, it was I'm pretty sure just Forever 21 pants, just trying to ruin my dreams.
Wow, the Emmys are not, well, you've heard it here first, folks. Emmys are not structurally sound.
Well, I know that because I subscribe to that YouTube channel where they just, it's Forever 21 clothing versus Emmy statues in situations. But I mean,
Yeah.
Huge fan base. It's really cool.
No, I'm going to be on there next week for their.
Excellent.
Pivoting real quick, I want to talk about Jumpstart Designers. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Tell me about this. What is this?
Yeah, so this is my nonprofit that I created. So our whole mission is to get like computers and digital art programs to kids and underserved communities. Because as we all know, digital art is insanely expensive to get into. And so there's just a lot of kids out there that don't have the opportunity to be a part of this amazing space. Like I mean, digital art has changed my life, and like being a part of it, I feel like I was only able to be a part of it because my mom was able to get me a laptop. But there was a point where like we couldn't afford to get a laptop, and I remember how it was like this thing of like I feel like as kids we're kind of told like, oh, like if you just dream big and if you just work hard, you could become whoever you want. But like in that moment where my mom's like credit card declined at Best Buy, they didn't ask how much passion I had. They didn't ask how much creativity I had, And so it was like this thing of like, I was fortunate enough to be able to go back and get the laptop like months later. But like how many of the kids like don't even get to go to the Best Buy? How many kids like don't get to go back? Like what happens to their dreams? Like we've seen where my dreams have gotten me, where like I get to do all these amazing things. And it's like, so we're just not going to focus on the kids that like can't get here, like strictly because of accessibility. And so our big mission is like not only give them computers, but give them like opportunities, like mentorship. So like we have like our 12-week program that we're going to be onboarding the kids like this summer, which is insane because it's our first set of kids, and it's going to be, I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be, it's life-changing for me just because I get to be a part of it. But like, I don't know, like I feel like as a kid, if someone had went out of their way to show how much they like believed in me, like how much like motivation that would give me, like at the end of the program, basically the kids will like sell their pieces that they create. They'll have like one final piece that they're going to make, and we're going to sell it, and they're going to make money off of their art. That's awesome. Which like, I don't know how many kids can make money off of their art. I sure didn't. Like, I didn't make my first like $50 until like my third year of college. So like, I feel like just being able to give that type of opportunity is kind of big. So yeah.
It is a tremendous. Like I feel like privilege and being able to work in this industry like with all the tools that are available is such a big barrier, and an incredible thing to literally start a nonprofit, like as a motion designer starting a nonprofit to benefit the people who don't get to.
It's funny because I always get asked like with 9 hours every night. So
wow, 9 hours.
9 hours. I need it. If I get 8, I'm like, ugh. I need full 9.
Well, that's the thing for you to have the energy to output, to make all of this stuff and do all these things. You've got to have energy. So sleep.
That's the way to look at it.
Sleep is how you get energy.
Yeah, I don't drink caffeine or anything. I'm just hopped up on life.
That is
I don't do caffeine either, except for tea sometimes. Rarely.
I don't either. I just do hardcore drugs.
See, and like that's what it feels like when I do caffeine. It feels like I just smoke some crack. Like it does not feel good at all. Like I get super sweaty. I get the jitters. Crack? What?
Are you sure you're not smoking crack when you're drinking coffee?
No, that was the old me.
Oh,
I don't do that.
That's right.
Yeah. It was before the Emmys.
The Emmys changed you. The Emmys cleaned you up.
Once I got an Emmy, I was like, no more crack.
No more.
The Emmy tripped me in my Forever 21 pants, and I looked at myself and was like, what are you doing?
No. Yeah. You saw how quickly it can all crumble.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love about Jumpstart is that it's an incredibly wonderful cause, but it's also incredibly practical in how you've taken and how you've like applied solutions to a need, like how you're serving us. Like it's like so well thought out. And what I love is you see a lot of people you just see nonprofits get started here and there with really great causes, but the actual application or execution of it isn't extremely practical, or it's like, where is my money going if I give to this? Like, or if I get involved with this? And this is a very specific thing. And that's what I really, really love about it, that has very specific benefits to the kids that get involved with it. I love it.
We're trying to see like results of this. And so the way that we are trying to measure that, like, how do we measure results that like this program is working, you know? And so we're trying to implement things that I feel like a lot of like nonprofits that are just like, hey, we just give these things to kids. Like, I don't think that that's the answer. Like, I think if you just give like a whole bunch of computers to kids, they're going to be like, cool, now I have a computer. Like, what's next? You know, like I feel like it could be very daunting, but to have someone like, we're going to have like people in the industry mentor them. And so they're going to be able to work side by side with these people. And I feel like that is like way more worth than just the computer itself. And so, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's a lot of paperwork. Did not know it was going to be so much paperwork. But yeah, we have so many different people. We have like our social media manager, we have a grant writer, we have a CPA, we have an attorney. I'm just like, it's exhausting, but
that is incredible. Worth it. Yes, please. Yeah. Check them out, support them if you can. Yeah. Let us know what we can do. The link. Besides talking about it on our super prolific show.
Yeah. No, honestly, we were thinking we're going to be doing like live streams for Jumpstart where like I'm basically going to just be running it on my YouTube channel, and like 100% of the proceeds just go straight to like Jumpstart. And so we want to do like, I mean, I haven't announced it yet. So, but
you don't have to on our show, but go ahead.
We're going to be like having like different like artists, like illustrators, designers, motion graphics artists, and they'll be able to like duel each other on the show. And like, we'll have like exclusive interviews with people and stuff. And so all of it will just be for Jumpstart. So it'll be fun.
Oh, that is so great.
That's awesome. So you guys will have to be on it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Done.
Yeah.
We're there.
Cool.
We're there right now. Where are you? We're waiting.
It's actually right after this, so if you want to just hop right in.
Perfect. So not to shift gears too dramatically, but one of the things that we were sort of talking about was maybe popping open some tools and maybe like improvisationally like coming up with things. It's one of the things that we do on the show, usually with literally zero effort on the pre-production aspect.
Well, so are you going to have? So it's the antithesis to your process, Emonee. But are we going to? Hashi, are you thinking that Emonee opens up her computer, or are we thinking should we let her puppet you like with strings?
Well, I like both options. I would love our guests to be able to choose whether we are putting you on the spot and trying to make you either open up projects that you have to show us cool nitty gritty, because our audience loves the most specific, bizarre nitty gritty.
Yes.
Or we could also like all together, we've all been talking about some similar things, and we could maybe try to cohere the conversation we've had into putting something together that has any kind of of the LaRussa glow.
Yeah, I mean, I have a project that I have not dropped yet.
What?
Yeah, and it's actually like one of my favorites. So.
Oh my goodness! If you're willing to hit that share screen button.
So anyway.
But I'm not going to show you. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I can open that up. Let me see. Let me make sure it opens up. I've been having an insane issue with SuperComp crashing my project.
Yes.
Well, troubleshoot it.
Is it do you have shape layers in the project?
Yes.
That is that. So, yes. It for some reason it took me forever to figure that out. This is what was happening, because even if I wasn't using SuperComp on that comp, but the panel was open, if I had a shape layer in that comp, it would try to preview it in the panel and it would crash After Effects. So honestly, like if you are not using SuperComp in that comp, just close the panel and it will fix it. However,
so just like the actual panel on this.
Oh yeah, because it's trying to externally load the.
Yeah.
I don't remember the right terms from the After Effects API, but like there are some, yeah.
For some reason, it doesn't like shape layers. And I had never used shape layers until like a year ago. I finally was like, this is what they do. This is great. And everything was crashing constantly.
Okay, because now I'm thinking back on the project. I definitely have shape layers. So, wow.
If you need shape layers in a scene with SuperComp, pre-compose them. And if you're working in a comp that's not using SuperComp, close the SuperComp panel. And now, obviously, that's a bug that needs to be addressed at some point soon, hopefully. But in the meantime,
good
Stu, you still here? You still in the chat, Stu? You hear that? All right, bye.
Okay. Here, let me try to fix my light real quick.
I'll tell you what. While you get that set up, we'll do a little bit of quick follow up from last week.
Oh yes.
We're going to watch
if you were with us last week, yes.
Trailer that Hashi put together. And so this was, I'm going to take away Imone's handle here because I don't want her to have to get credit for this nonsense that we did on the show.
You have version 3 there, right?
I have version 3.1.
Excellent.
So let's see.
Get ready for the Fast and Furious franchise, a thrilling world of speed, honor, and family. It's all about family, see? Join skilled drivers bound by an unbreakable code.
I live my life 1/4 mile at a time.
Defying limits and pushing machines to the edge. Even some of these gals get behind the wheel. From the neon-lit streets of Los Angeles to exotic locales, and perhaps find a little love along the way. But lurking in the shadows are adversaries seeking to crush their dreams, leading to high-stakes battles. With lives on the line, they'll risk it all, fighting against time and formidable forces. Fast and Furious, speed, honor, family. It's all about family, see?
And Hashi, you did that in about 5 minutes, right?
5 minutes, all with AI. I just typed in Fast and Furious old-timey trailer.
My favorite was after the show last week, we were messing around and you and I both were like, we were talking about we spent the whole show finding old car footage and stuff, and then we just dropped retrograde onto actual footage from the movie, and
it's the best. It's my favorite shot. It looks so good. This is just retrograde right on top of Fast and Furious clips. So this ended up being, I think, 30 VFX shots. 20 of them are just After Effects shots. Oh my gosh! The very first frame of Eva Mendes turning around is
so
phenomenal.
Funny because I can't decide if her face is too big or not big enough.
I had multiple versions of this for I guess I was like, do I line up the eyes? But the original actor there had a taller face, but also Eva Mendes, if you try to extend her forehead anymore to make
Eva Mendes is her, yeah.
Eva Mendes is her. So, that was a very tricky little situation. But in the end, we combined many of the techniques that you might have seen on last week's show to create this.
I love the North by Northwest. I love that you put Vin into North by Northwest. I'm assuming that's what that is, right? That's the drunk shot? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Way to grab.
And then you've got him saying life one quarter. Like, did you just look up memorable quotes?
Like the most beautiful. Yeah. So, yeah, I have famously not seen any of these Fast and Furious movies except for Hobbs and Shaw, because I heard
still inexplicable.
That if you're gonna see one, that you see.
You didn't hear that at all. No one's ever said only if you see one film in the Fast and Furious franchise, see Hobbs and Shaw. It's not something anyone says.
No, that was Ryan Pauly said that.
Very good freelancer saying, what program generated the AI video? Most of this video was just Hashi doing hard work.
The Hashi program.
20 old school After Effects compositing and time remapping of footage.
The voice is AI. The script is AI.
The voice is AI. The script is AI with a few modifications.
Did you use RBF or SOB for any of the replacements?
No, because I couldn't find it.
Aww.
Actually, no, I have it, but I didn't.
But you said you put just threw Universe Retrograde on a clip from the show and it just worked. Like as soon as you talk old timey stuff, Universe Retrograde and Universe Misfire are like 100%. That's what you're going to want to use.
That's like Fast 5, and it's drag and drop. And
it looks the daylight, the way that it
right there,
black and white of the footage looks phenomenal. Anyway,
it's amazing.
Get y'all some Universe, everyone.
All right. So how are we looking, Emonee? Do you
I got it pulled up.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah.
All right.
So, okay. So you guys asked earlier kind of what the design process is. So I'm going to show you the design that I made first, and then you'll get an idea of how it led to this.
Ooh,
okay.
Yes.
So I have it in Procreate first. Let's see.
I love Procreate. And I
do too.
I just learned Hashi and Michael, mainly Michael, were very impressed with this because they're very comfortable with body paint. But I didn't know you could draw on OBJs in Procreate until like a month ago.
Yeah. So I've tried it 2 times and I had a terrible time doing it, so I was like, I hate this.
You have to prep it right with the UV unwraps and stuff, or else it's nonsensical. But it's still a cool feature.
Okay, let me find. Okay, so I drew it out first, and then I was like, okay, this is gonna be the idea.
The chat is like, wait, you can what? Yes, Procreate, you can paint on OBJs. You can also do it in Cinema 4D or Substance. That
was what Michael said when I got really excited in Slack.
He's like, you can paint on OBJs. I'm like, you've been able to do that in Cinema 4D for a very long time.
Even I did this. I actually can't do that in Slack. There's no button to get rid of Michael in Slack.
I think the only time we may have ever demoed that was in our Thing from the Addams Family show. I might have showed that.
You can also do some painting in Forger as well, if you're an iPad person.
Okay, so I have all these layers. Hold on, I'm going to merge them all together.
It's exciting. This is the tea. It's the sauce.
It's the tea. Okay, I have a whole bunch of layers, so too many layers.
Can never be too many layers. That was the original title for this variety show.
Do you guys like Too Many Cooks? Do you guys seen that?
I have not.
Of course.
Oh,
you've not seen Too Many Cooks, Hashi?
What's Too Many Cooks?
No.
Oh my God, you haven't.
You two.
Cooks?
Okay, you both of you need to see Too Many Cooks. It is right up both of you's alleys.
Yeah, I know.
That's not
okay.
I'm
English.
imagining like a like Multiplicity, but with Tim Cook. It's like
no. It's an Adult Swim thing, and it's. I don't want to spoil it by saying anything more about it. It just Google Too Many Cooks.
You just have to watch it.
Is it a show?
We're not going to spoil it for you.
Okay.
It's like a...
Don't spoil
okay.
it.
We will watch it after the show and report on it next week.
Yeah.
Speaking of next week, if you ever have any questions that you'd love to see us answer on VFX and Chill, throw them not in just the chat, but throw them in the comments for any video, and we'll review those. And if we feel like it, maybe we'll record a quick tip at the top of our episodes.
Wait. Can you see my
Look at that.
screen?
It's too bright. It needs to.
Hold on.
It's not adjusting.
Oh, I got my pretty filters on.
It's like that video of Taylor Swift where it's the person exposed.
Oh, Emonee, are you on Mac or a PC on your actual computer?
Mac.
I believe you can open up QuickTime. It's not important. I believe you can send your iPad to your screen and could actually share it.
But this is working. This is working. We can see it. It looks
great.
great.
Great. This is great.
Okay, so this is the drawing initially. Okay.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay, that's what I drew, and then this was the design of it. Well, yeah. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Let me try to turn up the.
Ooh, that's nice.
That looks like the coolest skateboard deck.
Is that also in Procreate?
This was in Procreate as well.
Oh, look at that.
Okay. So now,
So good.
Now I'll share my screen and I'll show you the final piece. Okay. Let's do this. iMac. Start sharing.
What?
Wait, can you see this?
Yes.
We see.
Oh wait, that's just my desktop.
Well,
it's
it's
amazing.
impressive.
It's Adventure Time.
So I'm gonna stay off your screen until you have what you want to share on screen, just to protect your privacy in some way.
Window. Window?
The chat says the composition is already so solid in the very first line drawing. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's part of what makes your work so good, is that you're starting from really solid foundations. You do enough pre-production to get yourself started off on the right foot instead of opening up After Effects and just staring at a blank canvas.
Speaking of staring at a blank canvas, I'm just getting a gray screen from your share.
Okay.
Desktop again.
Now we see your desktop.
Are you?
How do you share screen?
Okay, so you go.
Well, we
share
see your
screen,
desktop.
Have we? It's a we have.
Desktop
We've done the whole like it's
or
allowed
window,
for.
and then you select the window you want to share.
Okay. Hold on. Share screen. That's so weird. It's only giving me. Oh, you know what it might be? It might be like a Mac, like how it's not giving access to letting it see it.
Weirdly, it's showing your desktop.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have two monitors?
I do.
Is one of them blank right now?
Both. Here, I'll share the other screen. That one's a desktop too, right?
Yeah, we see the background.
But we now see we see the menu bar at the top. It says Skype.
I would imagine you're right. Maybe it is a permission thing.
Yeah. Oh man, I wanted to show you guys the project.
Well, hey, if you need to restart Skype and come right back in.
Okay, let me see. Hold on.
Look at this. This is the drama. We need dramatic music.
Have the screen
to go with this.
We've got drops for CC ball action and field force, but nothing for like dramatic.
Here, I'll do some dramatic music.
CC ball action.
Dramatic. Maybe this is dramatic. That's dramatic.
Okay.
This is actually fun thinking music. Like troubleshooting music, but we have to yell over it. Oh,
but my favorite
we just saw your screen.
Is the logo dance party.
We did just see your screen for like a hot second there. Oh, she's gone.
Well, she's gone.
All right. So yeah, I believe that Emonee is
with God.
Reconnecting. See, the thing is, like starting a nonprofit is child's play. But sharing the proper screens.
It's true.
Has been excruciating. Ooh, where's that audio?
I thought that was a laugh. If it wasn't, I forgot which ones are which.
Just a startling scream. Welcome back.
Oh, we're hearing you. Not seeing.
Wait, can you see me?
No.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Guys, just act like I'm not here.
Oh, we are. Now Michael's going away too. Oh my God, Skype is taking us all out.
Oh,
Oh no!
See, we need to produce.
Should I log on back into?
A full drama where there is a monster like in the Skype apparatus that is. Guys.
And it just Skype comes out.
I dig that. Submit your names for the Skype monster.
Oh, that's a good idea.
What we would call the movie.
Am I back? You're back.
Your voice is back, and your face is back.
Yes.
Emonee, are you still with us? I know you're not visually with us, but spiritually, no. All alone now in the void.
No, this is just when she carries us.
Some folks in the chat have not seen the CC ball action drop before and are very much enjoying it. I think we should do it at least one more time.
Which one?
I think that we should try to use. I would like to try to use CC ball action to do
CC ball
an homage to Emonee's work.
Definitely.
There you go.
I mean,
Ryan, that one's for you.
Just add some dithering to that, like Colorama CC ball action stuff, and we're like halfway there.
That's a good point.
See, stuff like the CC ball action like drop are just me trying to be like an artist like Emonee, and not,
yeah. You've all seen our efforts at art, which is like I feel like every now and then About with Raptors is elevated to art, but
that's the height in which we'll.
Yeah, the Rosebud. Oh crap! What's that movie? Citizen Kane one was pretty. That was pretty good. But the Singing in the Rain with the little Easter eggs in it is also.
Speaking of,
oh hey, I see your screen.
Oh,
yay!
Look at that. See your screen.
Okay, so my screen sharing now works, but now my camera doesn't work.
Actually, we can see you though.
No, we see you. We can see your face.
My DSLR just decided to kaput, so we're just gonna have to work with my terrible Mac camera instead.
I love terrible Mac cameras. Let's
work with the tools you have, folks.
Yes. Okay, so this, you know what? I should have rendered it while it was taking so long, but you could now watch me render it.
That is watching things render is the 90%
What's the tool on the top right?
This one?
Oh, that's Flow by Zach Lovett.
But it's Flow. I love
Flow. I use it all the time.
I love Zach
Flow is
Lovett.
so good.
Yeah, it is. I always recommend that people understand the speed and value graph before getting Flow, because then you're just gonna click random things and be like, I don't know what it's doing, but it looks nice.
Is that not how you're supposed to do things?
Yeah, just a little bit.
But yeah, Flow is a really good way to quickly get the same animation curve across multiple properties in your project so that all your animation has the same feeling to it. At least that's how you use it. It's just a really quick, easy way to fuss with the value graph and speed graph without actually having to dive into the graph.
Yes, agreed. Continuity.
It is.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I use it just to make things feel cohesive.
I created this all in Cinema 4D, so all the items and stuff. So I could show you. There goes.
Ooh,
look at that.
Still rendering.
Awesome.
Even the hands in Cinema, or is that practical?
No, the hand, I could show you. So here's the scene without all the extra adjustment layers.
I'm very curious about the recipe of your adjustment layers, by the way.
What?
I'm curious to see the recipe of your adjustment layers to take it from this to that look.
So I have my head by myself, which I just shot of just on a green screen.
Yeah.
I love this.
Got the green neck covered off. And then for my hand, I wanted to get that like harsh like lighting on it, and I wouldn't know how to do it in Cinema 4D, so I was like, I'll just do it with my real hand.
Amen.
So I just had my hand here, just added some like Tritone color effects on it. I mocha'd my fingernails so that I could add the color back in later, because I think this is it without them. I don't feel like they pop enough, so I added my fingernails back in. But I moved my hand around a whole bunch. And then I basically, so my wrist is moving so much. So when it's laying flat on top of the pedestal, it was like, it started looking like it was going like this. So what I did was I basically created two like rulers on each side of it. So I just went like, boom. Oh, you could see them. They're right here. So these are the rulers. So I was like, okay, if I just make the wrist fit within that through a mesh warp, then it will look kind of stable, and it looks like it's like not moving as much.
I see you grabbing onto your arm like that, and the way you were using those little, I don't know if they were light stands or whatever for your balancing heads.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
A shot, which is, it's a really, really smart idea if you're ever filming your own.
Another thing,
doing whatever you can to anchor them.
Something I've done before, I can't remember, it wasn't for a hand, it was for a flying person. I needed like a guy, ignore why I did it. I don't want to waste our time, but the point is like stabilizing, basically picking 2 points at the bottom and stabilizing that, and so everything pivots on that. Sometimes works, but if you move too much in 3D, that could affect that.
Yeah. Then I have my hand here, and then my head I have on this. Let me actually put this in full. And then I basically brought it and mocha and try to track the tip of my finger. And then I parented the head on top of that. And I also have like these bevels. I don't know if you could see, but just try to sell that it looks like it's like imprinting on my face. And then I added like all these different shapes. So the shapes are using that same type of style where I have an object buffer on each of the individual things. And then, so like here are the blocks. I just added the texture with a luminance like color on it, so that light wouldn't reflect on top of it. And so here it is with that, and then here's obviously the map for it. So I basically just cut it out, and then in here I added like some bevels, some shadows. And I did that for everything. So the sphere, this is what it looks like all together. Actually, I think I have, let's look at it, how it actually looks in Cinema 4D. So this is how I rendered it out. And that's, you can kind of see.
That is such a phenomenal difference, but also like the composition is so clearly there.
Yeah. And so I basically just created all the different, created a different object buffer for each individual thing so that I can texturize each of the objects in here. And so like some of them have different shadows than other ones. So like for this, the book is overlapping like the flower and the shoe. So I added like a shadow. So like every time it lifts up, it creates that shadow. So you can kind of see, so when it goes up, the shadow uplifts, and then as it goes down, the shadow starts covering more. You could see like right here, the shadow starts covering.
Your hand animating that?
What?
Your hand animating that shadow?
Yeah. So that, kind of. So actually what I did was I just grabbed the book frame and I just brought it down a little bit.
Smart.
So
super smart.
That it just kind of has the same motion. But an issue that I was running into was because it had the object buffer right here, technically the book is cut out where those objects are.
Yeah.
So let me
I see what you mean.
So see how it's like cut out right here.
Yeah.
So there were times that I needed to manually make sure that it went under. But yeah, this is the final look of the book, but that's how it like started off with all those different colors.
I love that.
Yeah. And I basically just added like different layer styles. Let me see. Yeah.
And how procedural is it compared to how often do you need to animate the actual shading effects? Like, do they once you've applied them, are they sort of there, or is there a lot of keyframing because of how they rotate or whatever?
Yeah, there's no keyframes on these styles at all. It typically just uses the mat to kind of wrap around it. So there are times where obviously it's like cut out here. And so I needed to go in and add a little more shading onto it. But for the most part, it kind of just stays pretty consistent. What you could do is you could just render out each piece individually and you won't have to worry about the object buffer for each thing, but it is just more of a hassle. But yeah, it's not a significant, none of these have keyframes on it. They all kind of stay relatively in the place that they need to. So, yeah. And so
Skeleton in the chat is asking, have you ever considered using crypto mats instead? So you have one pass that has a mat for every object instead of making a separate pass for each object. But you're using the standard render in Cinema 4D, right? You're not using Octane or Redshift or anything?
Yeah. So I don't.
This is why we can be friends.
Yeah, I know. Teach me. I feel like I'm doing things.
I don't know how to use them either. Don't tell me.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just using the basics of my understanding of it. But I don't use because I use a Mac, I don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I can't use Octane. But I don't know. It just
Redshift works on M1. So if you get a new Mac that's got an M, it's Apple Silicon, you can use Redshift now.
Oh, okay. Well, I have the Red Giant Maxon 1 thing, so.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you're going to be good to go once you get a computer that's got a nice Apple Silicon or an NVIDIA graphics card in it.
Good to know. But yeah, as of now,
for your style, you don't need it. Your style works because you're starting with these flat colors, simple mats, and then you add all your juice later, so you don't really need to have it. Yeah,
so I was saying, it's kind of that 2D style. Obviously, I feel like there could possibly be faster ways that I could achieve this, but I mean, just throwing on these simple layer styles makes it to where it's not that big of a headache to have to deal with. And then, so these are my I trial and error on everything. One, because it wouldn't render out because it kept crashing. But I could show you kind of what I was throwing on. So I have posterized time, which is just my style. I feel like I add a posterized time on almost everything. And then overall color, VHS is an absolute, I throw VHS on damn near everything. And then, so do
you use it at defaults, or do you tend to tweak it a certain way?
I tend to do a little bit of what is there, and then I'll add a blend, the blend with original sometimes. But I mean, the majority
of
the
subtle to me, because I've called out the cool analog effect of your stuff, but I feel like I have a very good VHS detector, and I had no idea you used VHS.
Yeah, no, I use
that rocks.
Here's the before and after. So I super brought up all the colors, brought all the saturation up, and then I threw this on. So that's why I like this. I could show you what it looks like without the color heightened. So this is what it looks like with just the VHS, but then I bring up all the different colors to kind of bring that saturation back.
Oh, that's amazing. That feels like raw and color timed. That's crazy.
Yeah. Because I love how it kind of brings out some of these like colors and these glows and stuff. And so, yeah, I added this bilateral blur with the scatter on it. But oh my gosh, it was bogging down my computer so bad. Like it's still rendering like one frame right now. Like it's insane. But yeah, I turned that off because I was like, this isn't working. I had the noise on, but because I was using the VHS, it's double the noise. And then I had the RGB. Basically, I did all of these things that VHS does all together. And so I was like, why am I doing all this extra work? I'm just going to add the VHS on top of it. And then I had like the glow on top of it. But VHS does everything. So we just switched over to that and then we were good. But yeah, that's basically the idea of this. And like, so my whole plan with this piece, like when I'm putting it out, like I have like this whole description on like what everything kind of means. And like I grabbed all these, I'm like seeing if I could legally post it. So like I contacted like my agent to be like, hey, can I post this work with this content? So basically I'm taking all of these like super crazy sexist like podcasts, like male podcasts where they're like, women don't blah, 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 blah. Because the whole piece is about like how like women have to like balance so many different things. Like, oh, you have to be pretty, but you can't be too pretty because if you're too confident, then you can't have this. Oh, and you have to be smart and you have to be ambitious, but you also have to take care of our kids and you have to be a stay-at-home mom. And it's like all these different things that like women have to balance. And so I'm like adding like all this different audio up front to kind of hint at what the overall message is. It's funny because it's like, it's a pretty dark thing to talk about, but it's so pretty.
Oh, and that's art right there. 100%.
Yeah. So I haven't dropped this piece at all. Like, I don't know when people will see this because I need to get approval on it first. But you guys are seeing it here first. So,
oh, well, thank you for showing it to us. What a privilege.
That's so cool.
Yeah, this is fun. Oh, and the clouds. I got to show you the clouds. The clouds are like, I feel like my trademark now. So basically what I did was I just grabbed all these different shape layers.
Wait, what?
Oh, that's smart.
And what I did was I then added a fastbox blur. And I changed so
that's so good. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. Oh my God,
I blurred it all out, and then I like compressed it all basically.
No, that's cool.
And another pre-comp, I just cut off the bottom, so now it just looks like a cloud.
So smart.
Whoa.
And
wait. What are the shapes again?
So it's just this weird bottom piece. So it's just this, and then a whole bunch of circles with.
So you just made like a custom set of them moving across. Like that's so.
Yeah. So I have like big, medium, small. And then, so basically to loop it, I took everything on the front end and I just moved it in the back end. So now if you go to watch it back, it should loop. And so now you have a looping cloud.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so I figured out how to do this because Ben Marriott came out with a tutorial on how to make smoke. using this kind of similar effect. And I was like, man, I bet you I could do this with a cloud. And so I tried it with the cloud and I was like, oh my God, it works. So now you can see these clouds in the background and this thing loops, which was also crazy to do.
I imagine it's crazy to do because you've got the live action elements and you've got the 3D elements.
Can you guess? I want to see if you guys can guess how I looped the visual effects, like the video.
Okay, let me see.
Are we guessing by watching or are we guessing just in theory?
Just guess how you think that I would be able to loop.
Like the whole, like the overall motion of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be able to loop video.
You would need. I mean, if the clouds are drifting. Wait, are the clouds drifting? Right?
Are the what drifting?
Or are the clouds they're drifting along like physically in space too, right?
No.
Oh, they weren't. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they're okay. Got the shape is moving within them. I see.
Yeah. They're static, but
I would think. Okay, is there a camera movement on this?
there is a slight push in, push out.
Okay, so in theory, though, I would think the main thing you'd need to loop is your hand because everything's parented to the finger.
In my face.
In your face. Right, your face, of course. Yes, I apologize. Apologize for painting you out of the picture. So
yeah.
The either a time remap to where you're like you're bouncing. You're like ping ponging in time your hand movement, or why am I going to sit here and guess when you've got something brilliant you're excited to tell us? It's intimidating and scary.
So, I actually use AI.
Whoa!
What?
I really need an AI drop.
Get her out of here.
I use Runway's frame interpolation. And I basically grabbed the last frame of the scene and I frame interpolation to the beginning of the scene. And so basically, let me hop in. I
want to see these layers.
So I have my head. So many pre-comps. Okay.
I'm just looking down at the chat, and I don't know if Jason guessed this before you said it or not. Jason Murphy, that is, in the chat.
I grabbed this frame, and then I grabbed this back frame, and then I looped it back to the beginning. So there's like slight movement. I try to keep my position relatively the same from the beginning to end. And the way that I did that was I had a metronome going off. And so
I saw that trick in your mirror video.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So that I could time it correctly to know that my face needs to be exactly here, like wide eyes open on this time frame. So I think it was like after like 4 snaps, I would have the same face. But obviously because it's video and not like a computer generated thing, to have my face exactly where it needs to be is just impossible to do. So I just grabbed the first frame and the last frame and used the frame interpolation to where, and you can slightly see, like if I were to take it off, like you could see there's a jump. But
which, I mean, like what's cool is like the posterized time like can add some, like can forgive this, but also you're not going for like, you know, an extreme you know, like snap. Like there are like the elements of yours that are video are really like moving and you're seeing the perspective on them nicely. So it's cool to get such a smooth out of that.
Yeah. And the same thing with the hand where I have the interpolation at the end. So you could see the transition between the first and last frame. And it's funny because in the AI, it kind of distorted my finger. And so I needed to like re-add my finger in there and just kind of like position it to make it look kind of normal. But I just basically grabbed this frame and then this last frame, and then I used the interpolation.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
These are my favorite kind of tips. These silly fixes to artifacts like that.
Yeah. So, and then because I'm keying it out, you basically can't even tell. One of the issues, though, and I contacted Runway about this because this is quite a bit of an issue. There is a color change when you export out of Runway AI, and it's pretty significant. Let me see. This was the AI footage. Let's see.
I have been burned by AI processing color shifts before because, I'm colorblind, so people will send me stuff and I'll just throw it through the thing and I'll be like, there you go, and I'll spit it back.
Yeah.
And then they have to be like, why do they look weird now? What did you do?
Yeah. And so I was having issues with color correcting it because my hand would be it was more reddish. And so I messaged Runway and I was like, why is it doing this? And they're like, we don't know. And I was like, awesome. But I'm sure they're working on it. But yeah, that's how I brought it back from frame one. Because I'm moving my hand so much for me to be able to bring my hand exactly where it's supposed to be, even though I am timing it, it was still difficult. But yeah.
So if you're watching this, it is worth knowing that for this simple, this could be completely unnoticeable within the piece because it's finished by the time it's done.
Yeah.
But you're drawing on the disciplines of you're performing it. You had to set up you're performing and filming it. So there's that discipline of it. Set up lights. You carefully tried to anchor your hand at the wrist to begin with.
Yeah.
Then you're keying, which is a visual effects discipline, and doing this extra frame interpolation, which is even a step beyond all that. And then having to hand keyframe animate bits on top to fix the poorly color corrected and distorted AI imagery you're getting back to create a final image. Look at those disciplines lining up to so many things that women have to balance these days.
I know.
Just to make a shot.
I know. It took me 4 days to make.
Horrible.
It was took so long. I mean, so long in the sense of it took a lot of technical things. And if I didn't know motion graphics, I don't think that I would be able to do this. And if I just knew visual effects, I don't think that I would be able to do this. And so having kind of my foot in all these different things kind of brings this
You'd be able to do it, just wouldn't look as good. Yeah.
What?
You'd be able to do it, it just wouldn't look like this. It wouldn't look good. It would look.
Yeah. But I just think that just having all those tools in my belt, and also the fact that I want to learn about AI tools and I want to get better, before I would just try to match this through the transparency and using mesh warp and all these different things. But this took a few minutes to do.
Creating a new frame that fits in between, where you didn't have frame, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And because that's literally the solution that you need. And there are now tools to do that. And so
I know.
You arrived at a problem that you'd have to solve manually in the past. But I feel artists Zach King and Emonee and Kevin Perry and are getting very good at the amazing ways to hide cuts in the most drawing on either visual effects or animator or designer capabilities. And it's so cool that that's why AI tools will be where they will shine in the future.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. I feel we should start using these tools to better our workflow rather than just completely Xing it out of they're trying to take my job. It's not going to take you.
Let's mark that for our sound clip of the.
Yeah, we're going to use that. I need an AI drop for future shows.
That would be a good AI drop. Just her going. They're going to take my job. Hey, we're coming towards the end of the show. If anyone has any questions in the chat for her, now is the time to ask it because we are minutes away.
If anyone has any questions for you, hold on, I'm going to bring it up. I believe that's your handle everywhere, right?
That is.
Cool.
Can we kill the screen share so we can see? We'll get your HD video feedback, and that'll. Nice.
Yeah, let me.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Boom.
But yeah, definitely. This is weird to have this over the Fast and Furious. So let me just. Oh, the sound.
No.
What
Please go find and follow Emonee everywhere.
What an actual, literal privilege it has been to have you on the show. My God, this is so much fun. Obviously, people need to go find you on the internet everywhere and watch your stuff and support the Jumpstart designers. And is there a way that we can support Jumpstart designers if we're not, directly involved with it?
Yeah. So following our social media, Jumpstart Designers, we have a Twitter. It's Adobe for Kids.
I love that.
That's great.
So yeah, we've just been trying to prepare for this program, the 12 weeks. So any type of love, support in that is going to be big for us because we need all the love.
Well, with one thing our audience has, it's love. And on that note, everyone, thank you so much for watching this week. Please go follow Emonee. Please go support Jumpstart and follow Adobe for Kids. And we don't have a catchphrase we say at the end of the show. I always set myself up to say one, but until then,
sleazy.
Keep it
That's
sleazy. Take it and keep it.
Take it sleazy.
Bye.
And I'm out.